Today, after all the horse trading, grandstanding and glad-handing, the PM finally cracked open the big box marked climate policy. So, what was in it?
Well, we're waiting.
Buzzwords. A whole lot of buzzwords.
Technology, not taxes. Met and beat choices, not mandates. Australians want a plan. The plan, our plan, our plan. It's a plan.
Underneath those platitudes, there was good news for fossil fuel industries.
Plan for net zero, not absolute zero.
It will not shut down our coal or gas production or exports.
Dale dug a hole.
The government banking on emergent hydrogen tech along with carbon capture and storage to deliver those net reductions.
And that means offsets are an important part of that plan.
And despite the solar sceptics within the coalition...
Solar panels don't work in the dark. That is just a statement of fact.
They don't work in the dark, and neither do our wind farms.
Cheap renewables will be a big part of the push.
Anyone who walk into any JB Hi-Fi store anywhere in the country today, and when they walked in there 5 years ago, will know the change in the price of what they were buying today to what it was 5 years ago.
And after holding the Libs to ransom, it sounds like junior coalition partner the Nats have secured a bonanza for the bush.
I can say to rural and regional Australians that this is a good plan for you.
In fact, we'll all be making out like bandits.
Australians $2,000 better off on average in 2050 compared with no Australian action.
Looks like everybody's kicked a goal.
Yep, bloody exciting. But there was something missing.
Did you say a moment ago you would release the modelling?
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually, meaning when?
Sometime. We're focusing on the plan today. There'll be another time when we'll release them all.
When do we see this plan?
All of our policies will come out before the next election.
OK, there was quite a lot missing.
The Prime Minister announced a vibe.
It's the vibe and... no, that's it. It's the vibe.
I've seen more detailed fortune cookies than the document released by the government today.
But it's better than nothing, right?
I rest my case.
Well, Tim Wilson's the Assistant Minister for Industry, Energy and Emissions Reductions and is here to talk to us about the vibe. Now, Tim, we heard the buzzwords, we saw the slideshow, but what's the actual plan?
Well, it's 130 pages that goes through detail by detail every step of what we're going to do. It's a whole of economy plan which looks at how we're going to decarbonise different sectors, utilising technology and innovation. And frankly, it's consistent with what every other country is doing in terms of how they're trying to decarbonise too. And so it's how we take Australia forward in an Australian way to build the future growth and opportunity of our nation while also making sure we save the climate and make a buck along the way too.
Well, the PM says the plan is based on existing policies. So can you point to a single measure announced today that we haven't actually seen before?
Yeah, there's a very specific focus on low-cost solar PV cells and the role that it's going to play. But, you know, what we've done is built a policy based on pillars. We've got our critical minerals strategy, our modern manufacturing strategy, which all build the foundations for an overarching climate policy so we can commit to net zero by 2050. So it's quite comprehensive, 130 pages that goes through in detail and is frankly the most comprehensive plan for getting Australia to net zero by 2050 that's ever been presented by a major political party.
I feel like you only gave me one little example at the beginning there.
No, I can talk about others. Let's talk about the innovation that's going on in stored carbon through briquettes. I'm in Canberra right now and there's a local business that is finding a way to take carbon essentially from the atmosphere and store into briquettes and to become part of building materials. If you look at UNSW, they've got a research centre which just won a global award to increase the 25% the efficiency and productivity of solar PV cells. So the plan has a lot of technology based on what we need to both offset our emissions and, of course, provide the foundations for the energy and other sectors of the Australian economy.
So, Tim, those innovations are exciting, but it sounds to me, just listening to you there, that you're describing things other people are doing rather than government policy that we hadn't heard of before. Is there a new policy announced today that makes that stuff happen?
Well, we've made it quite clear in our plan how we're going to be utilising technology to mobilise investment and capital. And that's why so much of the focus is on technology, because we know that government doesn't hold the solutions to everything. We want to encourage the private sector and communities to be part of the solution. And the Prime Minister also outlined today that there's going to be more policy platforms that are going to be rolled out over the next 6 months in the lead up to the budget, including the future fuels strategy and what we're going to be doing there. And of course, you know, you talked about in your introduction what we're going to be doing in the exciting world of hydrogen.
So more policies to come. That bit I get. I'm just interested embedded in the policies or the plan that was announced today. So relying on technology isn't really a policy. That's something that's happening. That sounds a bit like saying, well, we're going to let industry and we're going to research do that job for us rather than come up with very specific policy settings that are going to ramp that up.
No, not at all. In fact, there's $20 billion of commitment through grants and financing to mobilise investment and, of course, the deployment of technologies so that we can achieve exactly what we want to achieve. And that's what a focus on ultra-low cost solar PV cells is part of the story, but it's only in addition to many of the other technology. To focus on sequestration or offsets through soil carbon and how that can be used to address the challenges we face around global greenhouse gas emissions. And frankly, how we can lead the world and be part of not just a local solution, but a global one.
So, Tim, when can we see the modelling?
Sure. Well, the modelling is going to be released, the Prime Minister said, but in the lead up to the next budget. But at the moment, we've got our 130-page plan, which goes through each part. And again, you know, people raise questions about different parts, about different technologies. We're using exactly the same approach as the International Energy Agency, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and what they're recommending as part of the global solution, and applying it in a uniquely Australian way to Australia's solution.
All right, Tim, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.